Welcome to VBL Consulting. Valerie Bennett-Lewis is a respected leadership coach who serves with a passion to guide executives, new leaders, and entrepreneurs to uncover the tools and skills they need to become the leaders they were destined to be. I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketing specialist, and Valerie is my dear friend and my mentor. Today, I want to talk a little bit about you, Valerie. You're an incredible leadership coach, and you have so many valuable tools and strategies to offer today's leaders. And now they need it more than ever. The workplace is more complicated than ever, and we need a new perspective. We need some advice, and we absolutely need someone to partner with us for success. So thank you for joining me today, and let's talk about you.
Okay, let's talk about me. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So first of all, what is a leadership coach? What's the difference? There's all these terms: coach, counselor, leadership, executive coach. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Sure. I'll tell you what I'm not. I'm not a therapist. I am not a therapist. I am actually a business leadership coach. So there are lots of different types of coaches. You have career coaches, you have life skill coaches, you have all kinds of coaches. I really work with executives, business owners, and new leaders. And I really help them to uncover their leadership strengths, their leadership communication styles. My goal is really to help leaders to be more effective communicators, to be more effective influencers, so that they can uncover the skills and the talents of the individuals and teams that they lead, so those teams can be more productive, they have a more inclusive work environment. So think of a coach. My daughter used to play soccer. And so, a coach is on the sideline, being enthusiastic, motivating, inspiring the players. There's also practice, right? And so you practice a couple of times a week. So I'm also encouraging my clients, once we come up with a strategy, once we come up with a game plan, then we practice those tools and methods that help them to be more effective communicators, to help them be stronger leaders. And so I really provide kind of that third party, unbiased, objective, in terms of providing feedback into areas, maybe some blind spots that my clients can't see, and just really encourage them to identify the skills and talents and abilities that they have to be stronger leaders, and to build better, more productive teams.
I love that, because many times leaders become leaders because they're great at the spreadsheets, they're great at the industry, and yet they're not trained in the people aspect, and that's where you come in, which is so perfect. So why did you become a leadership coach? When you were a little girl, I'm sure you didn't say, when I grow up, I want to be a leadership coach.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that quite, but funny that you mentioned that. When I was little, my mom used to always say, well, you're the oldest. I have two brothers. I'm the only girl. And so she would always say, well, you're the oldest, so you need to set that example, and you need to, your brothers look up to you. So I think I've always gravitated to some type of a leadership role without really knowing it, being the oldest, having to set the example. My brothers would just run amok, and they would run away, and I would sit in the house go, no, I shouldn't run away because I have to set the example. So needless to say, they were out having fun, and I was, I was the dull kid, right? The boring one, my brother says. But really, I really understand, I talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And so I've been in the workforce for quite a number of years. And so I've experienced quite a number of different leaders. I've worked for different leaders, and I know what it takes for me to be motivated and to want to give my best and to give my all. and I also understand what it feels like to be demotivated. So when I take on a role, a leadership role, I really take that to heart. I really take responsibility and accountability for being a leader. You know, I believe that the leader sets the tone, the leader sets the culture. And so because I just had this sense of, you know, I want to be the best kind of leader I can be, I just really gravitated towards coaching and being a leadership coach as kind of the next phase in my career, right? So I was in corporate for about 25 years and again, worked in various leadership roles and really gained a lot of skills and talents and exposure in each one of those roles. And so being able to take my experience and to also be able to help leaders need to kind of carve out time to think about things. There's just so much going on, and especially now with COVID-19, and there's just so many things going on that a leader, in order to be effective, needs to be able to take the time to think about things, to have a strategic partner, to be able to take a step back and really kind of plan out, what is it that I need to do with my team, right? What is it that I need to do differently to show up? And so I just really felt like I had the skills and talents that I could help some other leaders, being, you know, either experienced corporate leaders or new leaders, to just really be effective.
So with the leaders that you're meeting with today, what are some of the common problems that you're finding? What are the challenges that they're facing today?
So I'll put it into 3 words: recruitment, retention, and productivity. You know,
that's good, yeah.
finding the right employees to fit into the company culture. It's challenging, right? The leader needs to first understand what the company mission and vision, what those are, and then how does their particular department fit in with that corporate mission and vision. So once you identify what the vision is and the role of your department, then you look for individuals that have the skills that you need to be successful. And so really taking the time to be thoughtful to find the right fit. And one of the things that I share with my clients is it's not just enough to look for folks that have the technical ability, but how do they fit into the culture? How do they communicate? How do they influence? How do they show up? How do they work with other team members? And so that's all part of finding the right fit. And, you know, of course, as organizations, when you're down resources, you're not able to meet client demands, your customer demands. And so there are often times where you don't hire the right people, and it ends up being a problem and a challenge later on. So I think that that would be number 1 in terms of big challenge. Retention. So once you've taken the time to identify these high performing individuals that are going to become part of your department, how do you keep them? How do you retain them? How do you keep them involved and engaged, right? And so the leader has to really get to know their employees and get to know what each employee needs to be motivated and engaged and inspired. Money doesn't always do it, although money works for me. but but money is not always a motivator. Some folks want praise and acknowledgement. Some folks want to be part of a social cause. And so the leader, in order to really be effective, needs to know, what do my team members need to stay engaged with this organization? And then, of course, once you take your steps for recruitment and you're retaining, then how do you increase that productivity? Because at the end of the day, that's what every organization and business owner wants to do, is to be able to produce a high quality, service or project, or to make sure that they're meeting client needs and expectations.
Mhm.
So how do you improve productivity, performance improvement, continuing to be able to meet your customer needs? So I find that those are the three biggest challenges that are facing my clients and business owners and leaders today. And then just being able to stay afloat with, again, with everything else that's going on, keeping up
Right.
with technology and all of that.
I love that you have the leaders playing an active role. You just can't sit in your office by yourself and and just assume everyone's going to do their job, and then they're not going to be loyal to the company and they're not going to give their best. And so you give actionable tools for the leaders to interact with their employees so that way everyone can have the best potential, which is
Exactly.
incredible.
Exactly. Well, and there are times when I have clients that come to me and they say, you know, my employees are not motivated and they're not doing anything. And they used to be highly motivated, but now they just lost the desire. And so some of the questions that I ask are not really related to their employees. I ask them, well, what are you doing? How are you
So good.
communicating? What,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you're doing as a leader to let them know what your expectations are? What's going on? Are there family issues? Is it too much work? So yes, a leader has to be involved, and they have to be engaged, and they have to be part of the process. They can't just come up with the process and then communicate it one time and then just expect that everyone is just going to get it. Um, it takes time, just like, you've heard, when you're married, it takes time. You have to put into it. Leaders, being a leader it's the same, right? You have to put time, the energy and the time that you put into it. You will actually see the results from your employees. And again, going back to the recruitment, retention, and kind of the productivity.
That's awesome. So, what does a coaching session with you look like? How do you incorporate these different issues of recruitment and retainment? What is this? What does it look like?
Well, the first thing I do, so it's a 4-step process. And the first thing I do is I sit down and I listen to my prospective client. This is a meeting that we have where they just kind of lay everything out on the table, talk about the concerns and issues. And then I start asking some questions. I ask, the leader, what do you think your strengths are? Where do you what are the areas where you feel like you excel? What are the areas where you feel like you need to improve, right? And then what are the top 3 challenges that you're facing right now? And that gives me insight into how self-aware the leader is, if they can articulate what is actually going on and where they feel like they want to go. And so that first intake session and discussion is really important to just kind of lay out what is the issue, what are we trying to accomplish here. And then what I do is I also use the intake session as an opportunity to just talk about my philosophy as a coach, my approach, and really make sure that we're real clear about the working relationship. I find for me that my clients that are most successful are the ones that are willing to invest in the process, put in the work, stay engaged in the process,
Absolutely.
and really explore the different tools and methods, and really come to the table with some thoughts about, what was positive, what worked, what didn't work. Those clients that really engage in the process and the coaching process are the most successful. I find that most of my clients already know what it is they want to do. They just need some help getting there. All right. So we talk about that at the intake session. Then what I do is information gathering. So I do a self-assessment in terms of just different questions for my client. I do a 360 feedback with the client's co-workers, colleagues, just really identifying leadership style, communication style, values, strengths, um, and recommendations from individuals on what does this leader need to do to be more successful in their role. Then we take all of this information, I come up with a report that we then go through the information, and then we use that information from the report to come up with an action plan. So I ask my clients to identify 3 goals that they want to work on. And I usually have a 6-month contract or a 12-month contract. And I do that because I really do believe that it takes time to work on your
Definitely.
goal and also make sure that you've got sustained performance, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so then we actually start the coaching sessions where I meet with my client. We have an agreed upon time that we meet, and I just guide them through some questions, questions that help on self-awareness, self-management. I give feedback in terms of what I see, based on the information and feedback that I'm receiving as well. And so those coaching sessions are really geared towards giving my clients that feedback on how they're progressing, and then what are the next steps that we need to take, right, as we're working on those 3 goals. Then towards I do actually have a closure piece that's part of the process. And this is a follow-up 360 with the individuals that I initially contacted, just so we can have a point of comparison with the data. So after we finish our 6 or 12-month contract, what type of feedback are we getting from your staff or your team members or your colleagues, your co-leaders? And so have they been able to observe any changes? And then we use that to, and put that in a report to help give the leader, again, some tools, something tangible that they can use to continue to grow in their coaching.
I love that because you're not only creating a healthy leader, but you're creating a healthy company. And it
Yeah,
starts with the people that are inside.
yes, yeah.
So that is incredible. What is your goal for each leader that you coach? Is it that they become a better leader? Is it to for the health of the company? Um, what is the goal, or does it depend on each individual leader that comes to you?
So my goal is to help the leader realize their goal. So when I'm able to help the leader to, if they want to be a more diplomatic communicator, being able to communicate to various groups of individuals while still maintaining positive relationships, um, not be so directive where you're kind of a bull in a china store and you're knocking everything down and you're direct and what you're saying is correct, but the way that you're saying it, you just leave bodies all over the place. And so
Right.
if you have a goal where you're trying to be a more diplomatic communicator, I feel that I've succeeded as a coach if I can help this client or this leader learn different ways of communicating their same message, but being able to influence and bring people on board with them. So that's my goal as a coach, is to help my clients actually realize their goals. Um, for them to see, I get a lot of joy when I'm in a coaching session and the client goes, "Oh my gosh, now I see it." Like, "Oh, I didn't see that before." And I call that the aha moment, right? Where it's like, "Oh my gosh, the light bulb went off, and oh, I come across like that. That's me, and to be able to help them be more aware of how they come across,
Yes.
how they communicate. And so um, being an effective leader, it's ongoing. It's not a one-time deal, right?
Mhm.
So very often I'll end my coaching relationship, and then a year later, the client might, former client will call me up and say, "Hey, I need a tune-up. You know,
Yes.
I
Uh-huh.
need I need a ear. I need a thought partner." So that makes me feel good as well, because that also lets me know that it worked, it was effective, and that we've established a relationship where they value the input that I'm giving, and they feel like they're making progress towards their goals, towards actualizing their goals.
Oh, I love that. That's so good because we need to get healthy as a society. We need to get healthy and we need to listen to what we're saying and what others are saying. And you're bridging that gap, which it's so important right now. So thank you for devoting your life to helping leaders lead and treating people respectfully. So
I
that's
love
great.
it. I love it. So I love it. So folks say, well, when are you just gonna not do anything? And I'm like, oh, I don't think I'll ever like not do anything. You know, folks say, well, what would you do? What are you passionate about? What would you do? Even if you didn't get paid for it, what would you do? And I say, you know, if someone comes to me and they have an issue or a challenge, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to talk and I'm going to listen and I'm going to help them to feel empowered to find a solution to move forward. That's just what I do naturally. That's just my nature. So I just get a great deal of satisfaction from being a coach and helping my clients to just feel empowered to move forward.
Well, you have a gift, so it'd be a shame for you not to use it. So I'm so glad you're using your gift every day. Well, that's all the time we have for today. And every leader is unique and each workplace is unique. So if you want to connect with Valerie, go to vblconsult.com to schedule a free consultation with Valerie, which is so awesome that you're doing that. You'll learn valuable tools to communicate more effectively, how to create a strong working relationship with your employees, and how to establish a healthy work environment, and so much more. So Valerie, I just encourage all of the leaders who are watching this to contact you for that consult, and so they can learn how to partner with you.
Thank
So
you.
everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.